Hi and welcome to another Midlife Crisis Guys video. Welcome along, thanks for joining me. This is going to be a really different video. It's currently February 2020 and we are in I still can't believe I'm saying this. I've been telling everyone I'm coming away. I'm going to mainland Spain because I couldn't bring myself to say I'm in Benidorm. Ole, ole. Fuego, fuego. Ole. We left Manchester this morning, pouring with rain yesterday. We stayed in a hotel at the airport and left at the crack of sparrows. I think we set our alarm for like 3 o'clock this morning. I think we were in the air by about 6:30 this morning. And we left a very dark, cold, wet, damp, miserable Manchester. But we are staying in, I'm going to pan round now so you can see it behind me, the Hotel Villa del Mar. Let's be completely honest, this place does not have the best reputation. I mean, if you just say the word Benidorm, let's be brutally honest here, to most people, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Madge. Not strictly true. Some people might not have even bought themselves to watch the series, but there's a TV series that made very famous called Benidorm. Got to be so careful here. Got to be really diplomatic, and it does have this reputation of being kind of like hen night city, Blackpool, full of Brits getting drunk. I'm just being completely honest. You know, it has got a reputation, but. When we arrived from rainy Manchester today, and we're staying in that Villa Mar, and I got some footage earlier today from the roof bar looking out over this, I kind of think, wow, it's quite impressive. It's more impressive than you realise. Right, I'm trying to be diplomatic here. We're all really different. Everyone has different tastes, different standards. But the thing is, I do think we're very quick at judging places for the wrong reasons or on reputation, and yeah, Benidorm has had a terrible reputation.
Hey, you want to see it out there? It's mental. It's like Blackpool with sun.
But I have to say, having arrived here from rainy UK in February, stood up at that bar overlooking a very blue sea and a very blue sky. It's clouded over a bit now, I hasten to add, but I don't mind because it's the evening. And I'm thinking, wow, this is beautiful. Ollie! How on earth does someone that's always raving about how wonderful the Peak District is, how wonderful Scotland is, bikepacking, the outdoors, suddenly from all that do a video in Benidorm? Really? But the bottom line is, my wife got a really good deal, quite cheap, in one of these seafront hotels, overlooking the sea. I still love backpacking and hiking and bikepacking and all that stuff, but it just made a nice change. And let's be honest, the weather has been absolutely foul in the UK. So the chance of flying off to, well, some incredibly blue skies, blue sea, white sand, who's going to sneer at that? Now, I've read loads of articles, and a travel writer from one of the tabloids summed it up with the words, "I've spent the last weekend in Benidorm. To be honest, the snobby side of me was rather dreading the trip. But to my surprise, I had a great time." Straight away, the resort of Benidorm evokes visions of British pubs, English breakfasts, high-rise hotels, and possibly even Madge with a cigarette-wielding mother-in-law and a mobility scooter from the IDV series, as I've just said. But there is a fascinating history to Benidorm, and the roots of this popular tourist destination date back to 1925, when the first hotels were built. Hilarious. I feel like I'm doing a proper documentary, and I'm not gonna lie, look at that. I've even got a teleprinter, which should be about there, so it looks like I'm looking at the camera, but I'm not, and I'm just holding it. So there you go, I'm sat on a box. I so much do prefer to ad-lib, to be perfectly honest, but there are lots of things. I have actually, since I've known I was going to come here, done a bit of studying about the history of this place. The Hotel Bilbao was set up by Pedro Cortés Barceló and was the first hotel to be opened in Benidorm, and has been in continuous operation on the seafront of this famous beach on the coast of Levante Beach. Now, the irony is, I'm going to show you some footage now of the very, very first hotel of Benidorm, and I thought it would be fantastic to go down there, and I was going to go in and I wanted to go and interview the reception staff in there and say, you know, tell me, really, is this the first hotel in Benidorm? And I was hoping there'd be some guy that's worked there for 50 years that, oh, let me give you a tour and show you around this remarkably historic hotel. And it was shut. So I think it's having a revamp. So that was a bit of an anticlimax, really, but here's pictures of it anyway. I really needed to see it, because it's quite a, you know, quite a historic place, being the first one of all these massive hotels that have sprung up since then. But I've been on a quest for the oldest hotel in Benidorm. I think it started operating as a hotel in 1926, and I found it, but sadly it's shut. Bilbao, sadly it's shut. Alicante Airport did not open until April 1967, which just so happens to be the same year that I was born. So Alicante Airport, we are both 53 years old. There you go. And then sarcastically, more travel quotes coming in to the detriment of Benidorm. With the arrival of wide-bodied jets came the arrival of the wide-bodied tourist, which actually did make me smile, to be honest, but there we go. And I'm going to show you a series of photographs now of the humble beginnings of Benidorm back in the sort of 50s. There was a guy called, and I am going to read his name, Pedro Zaragoza. And he died at the age of 85 in 2008. But this chap was the mayor of Benidorm, and he took over in 1950. And this man is the guy who Benidorm has to thank, really, for all that. I'm being stared at now, a load of people thinking, what is that guy doing talking to a camera? Only I would do that, the midlife crisis guy. So yeah, the transformation of Benidorm is largely down to the work of Zaragoza, who remained mayor for 17 years. Within those 17 years, he set about encouraging the package tour operators that would fly plane loads of tourists to Spain. Initially, he contacted airlines in Germany and Scandinavia, but eventually the Brits got involved as well, and everyone started to flock to Spain, specifically to Benidorm. And as Benidorm was gradually transformed, he became an enthusiast for the high-rise architecture. I realised that if we built upwards, we could make more space around. People could be near the beach, and they could have balconies with fresh air and a sea view. And that kind of really does make sense, actually, because when you look at all the high rises around here, if these were all spread out, you wouldn't have half as many people here as half many hotels. So save space. He just went up rather than out, and it there you go. So I've read in various different places that the amount of high-rise buildings is second only to New York, I believe, which is quite impressive. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I still find that hard to believe, really, but that's what I read somewhere. Incidentally, a lot of these facts and figures that I'm reading you have come from the likes of Wikipedia. I'm being completely honest, so whether they're true or not. But to me, one of the interesting stories about this chap, Zaragoza, was with the British came the most celebrated episode in Zaragoza's career as mayor, in the Battle of the Bikini, basically. Now this made interesting reading. He saw that all these tourists coming over from not just Britain, but obviously Scandinavia, Germany, everywhere else, were all wanting to get as much sun as possible, and the women were quite scantily clad, which was quite new back in the early days of the resort. I think it's literally in the early 50s, and he fought long and hard. And there's a story that he actually got on a moped and went all the way to Madrid. Again, I find this hard to believe. As mayor, he got on a moped, but anyway, went all the way to see Franco, who was in charge at the time, begged and pleaded with Franco, who actually okayed it. So for that reason, then this was the first resort in all of Spain that had allowed the bikini. So there you go. But the story doesn't end there, because it caused all sorts of controversy. No one in the country had attempted this before, and there was uproar as members of the civil guard scuffled with scantily clad girls on Benidorm's beaches. But then even more of an effect, a detrimental effect that it had, was obviously in Spain generally there's quite a hardcore religious element to it, and the local archbishop threatened to excommunicate Zaragoza, but because of the blessing from Franco, they had the archbishop, that's right, I think they were going to threaten to put up signs of, you know, Benidorm is the place of sin, and basically they wanted to just advertise the fact that this was a very anti-religious, and obviously this really hurt the local population. So as a result, in 1962 the first cross appeared at the top of the Sierra Helada, and was the culmination of a mission by local Catholic monks to prove that the village had not lost its soul from the terrible, frivolous, bikini-wearing tourists deemed to be committing a terrible sin by wearing such clothes or lack of clothes at the time. And despite having permission direct from Franco himself to allow the bikini on the beach just 2 years earlier, the Archbishop of Orgelia Alicante threatened the then Mayor Pedro Zaragoza that he would place signs on roads into the village stating that the mayor and residents would likely go to hell for allowing the wearing of these garments of sin. So basically it caused an absolute stink wearing these wearing these bikinis. I did go up there. I had to go up to see this cross, and today visitors will see a large metal cross which was erected in 1975 and is made from parts of an old railway track. But the original cross, which was made of wood, had been erected in January 1962, was carried on the shoulders of the entire village from the church in the old town. The day became known as the Day of Forgiveness. It was for the villagers, by their very participation, just wanted to prove that they were indeed spiritual and religious, unlike the tourists flocking in ever increasing numbers at that point, for the sins of fun, sun and other such fleshy pastimes. I have been before. I did come out when I was a holiday rep many years ago, about 20 odd years ago, and as a holiday rep I just came out to spend some time with some other holiday reps really, so I had a bit of a wild time like you do in your 20s. But ever since then, the whole concept of Benidorm, it's not somewhere I would have ever chosen to really go. But like I said, my wife found this deal. We've come out for a lovely bit of family time with my good lady wife and my daughter in February in the winter, and it has been fabulous. It really has. We've had a really nice time. I'm really conscious as well that sort of people that have followed my midlife crisis guide channel probably not really the type that would show any interest whatsoever to somewhere like Benidorm, which is kind of why I wanted to do it really, just to show you a bit, give you a little bit of history, albeit from Wikipedia. I mean, it's just starting to get a bit nippy, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put my jumper on in a minute, but it's about sort of 18, 20. I think we're going home in a couple of days time, and just as we leave, temperature's going to go up to about 24, I think, so February, and I hear that there's the threat of heavy snow back in the UK, so great. And also going back to a run of night shifts as well, but try not to think about that. And it's been brilliant, really enjoyed it, and you know what, I'd come again, I really would. But I still prefer the Peak District.